Annuities. Is that a bad word to you? Well, if you think it is and it doesn't apply, you need to listen to this episode because it could help you mitigate risk and have secure income. Listen to this episode. We do a great interview with Sam Wimpy.
We hope you've been enjoying all the episodes from Secure Your Retirement. If you'd like to keep learning and receiving these episodes, hit the subscribe button and the bell so you receive alerts when they come out. We've helped thousands of listeners get on the path to securing their retirement. Now it's your turn. Let's dive in.
Welcome, everyone, to our podcast, Secure Your Retirement. We obviously try to, from time to time, have on a guest, and today we've got on a good friend and a good guest with us as a specialist in helping us help us kind of go through the landscape of all the annuity world, Sam Wimpy, all the way from Topeka, Kansas. So thank you very much, Sam, for coming on our show today.
That's right, guys. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
So Merce and I, in working with our clients or those that are, maybe becoming clients, one of the things we talk about is really what we try to think about is risk management a lot of the times. And we've talked a lot about our 3-bucket strategies. I mean, you should have money in cash, money in something that's going to be safe and not correlated to the stock market. And then, we want to have some money in the stock market and be in growth buckets. Today, though, we really want to focus on that middle bucket, and it's really, and the reason why I'm excited to have you on is because we're going to talk about, and maybe a little bit more detail on some of the nitty-gritty things. And in that income bucket, a lot of times at income safety buckets, we are utilizing what we call a portfolio of fixed indexed annuities. And so I just thought, since you're our partner that we go to help us do this out, can you kind of help for those maybe that are listening and have not been a part of that world? Could you kind of tell us, like, what's the difference between a fixed index annuity and then maybe an annuity that somebody knew about 30 years ago, or maybe even a pension that they've got at their company?
Yeah, definitely some similarities there, but a lot of differences. And the annuity landscape has changed pretty drastically over the last 10 to 15 years, in my opinion. One of those changes being the introduction of the fixed index annuity. So let's start briefly with like what an annuity is in simple form. And it's simply you as a client giving money to an insurance carrier, and in return, they're going to give you a promise of typically safety, tax deferral, or guaranteed income, right? That's kind of the simple definition of what an annuity is. So then you tack on this kind of fixed index. What's that mean? Well, the fixed specifically refers to kind of the insurance side of it, right? It means it's going to provide protection like a fixed annuity. We kind of know how fixed annuities work. The index portion is actually how they're going to provide a rate of return to you that potentially could be greater than a fixed index or greater than a fixed annuity. So it's tied to an index. We're not actually investing in the index, but it's tied to an index to give you some type of a conservative to moderate rate of return.
Yeah, I think so the term FIA becomes something that we throw around a lot, but a lot of times people forget that it is a fixed index annuity. And when I draw it on the board and I'm explaining it to someone, I make it super simple, and I think most people get it. The fixed piece, right? I'll write principal protection right under the F, and then the I say it's indexed. All you need to think about is this is how you're going to earn your interest. And then A, and I kind of jokingly say this because annuity in a lot of different ways has a different meaning to people. So I just say, think account. It's an account that happens to be held at an insurance company. That's what an annuity is, right? And so that I think that resonates pretty well with people of understanding the concept. So let's kind of you hit a couple of things of annuities can do a lot of different things, right? And let's just go with just the two because there's other nuances out there, but of how can it provide safe growth, and then or how could it provide guaranteed income?
Yeah, good question. So those are kind of the top two categories that we see advisors like you utilize these products, right? So are we going to utilize it for safety or income or both, right? They all provide safety, but let's take into consideration just safety. So this is what we're going to call kind of like maybe your bond alternative, your safe portfolio alternative, maybe even a moderate portfolio alternative. But at the end of the day, what we're looking for on these types of products is like that kind of 3 to 8% rate of return. Don't lose my money. We hear that a lot, right? So Typically, you're going to look at a product that has some type of a time commitment, 7 to 10 years, that's tied to an indice. Maybe one of the most popular ones used, S&P 500. So it's going to be tied to an S&P 500 and provide some rate of return over that time period. Again, we're kind of looking for that 3 to 8% rate of return. Things go bad, something happens with the market. These are the things that you guys talk about a lot with your clients in planning. Things go bad, guess what? We don't go backwards. We just get zero. So from the safe side, if we're going to simplify it, it's really the part of your plan or your portfolio that we're just trying to generate a conservative to moderate rate of return. You guys can kind of decide what that is for your clients, but also provide that downside risk. On the other side of the spectrum, which we're going to call it income, for guaranteed income products, there's typically a feature within the product that will provide guaranteed income. That basically just says, hey, I'm this age and I want to start taking income, maybe a little bit like a pension. I want to start taking income, and we're just going to guarantee you this rate, this income stream for either your life or you and your spouse's life. And what's great about it, Mers, you kind of hit on this, is it's pretty simple. It's, hey, here's how much income you're going to get. It's going to pay out for your entire life or you and your spouse's life. That provides a lot of flexibility on the other side, right? If we can get that guaranteed income stream, and I know I've got all this income to cover expenses or cover vacations or whatever you want to do in retirement, that's pretty cool, right? Because we don't have to worry about anything, and then we'll let the experts like you guys figure out the rest of the plan.
Yeah. So let's kind of talk about some, I guess, use cases. And I know you work with not only just us, but a lot of advisors throughout the country. So, we talk a lot about trying to manage risk, and a lot of times in the past, really the main option people lived with was to say, oh, so the way I do that is I put a certain amount of money in stocks and I put a certain amount of money in bonds. The very common one is 60-40, especially for folks that we work with that are 55 years of age and older, because they're trying to have a little bit more conservative portfolio. And then the problem has happened over the last decade where bonds have really not done well. And in fact, in 2022, bonds did really bad and lost about as much as the stock market lost. And so a lot of people who were in those portfolios go, man, I was trying to get safety, and I was doing that with something I thought was a safer investment like a bond, but I've not really made much on a bond. And from everything I read, and I would not call myself a bond expert, from everything I read, though, the projections are bonds really are not going to probably do good in the next decade either. So we talk about this vehicle kind of as a bond alternative. So how do you see that playing out, and how would you talk about that for the use cases that you've seen?
Yeah, I think one of the first things that we talk about when we're looking at, like, say, bonds versus annuities is we kind of hear this like bond alternative. Well, like, one of the things I like to say is like they're actually different, right? Like, so a bond is a security, an annuity is an insurance product. We can go chat GPT or Google that, and you can find out real quickly the difference. One of them actually provides some safety and some guarantees. The other does not. Right. So again, if our end goal when you guys sit down with a client to build a plan for them is to generate a conservative rate of return, and we don't really want that to change, or we don't want to see a lot of, I don't want to say issues, but we don't want to see any risk involved with that. Like, I might not want to take on a bond, right? Because you're right. As the interest rate environment changes, I mean, part of the reasons it's security is there's risk involved, right? There's interest rate risk, there's credit risk, all of the above. And so when I really want to go to that safe portion of my portfolio, back to, hey, these things have evolved. We had more tools. Here's a new tool that I can use in my planning process to not lose money, but still provide kind of that rate of return. Can't do that with bonds in every situation. I think both of you guys would agree that, like, hey, it's not that we don't use bonds or we don't like bonds, but we're just finding a tool that does things a little better than the other thing. Right. So I think when you look at annuities as a bond alternative, they can provide a rate of return, they can provide income, they can do a lot of the same things that a bond can do. But that fact that it's an insurance product that provides safety is kind of the key differentiation there.
Yeah. I mean, I think a simple way that I've explained it to clients is basically, hey, we're trying to, at the end of the day, get a bond-like return. That's why we call it a bond alternative, without the risk of the bond market itself. 2022 is a great case for the bond world, where that 60-40 portfolio crumbled. The equity markets were down, and the bond markets were down because we were going through this interest rate changing environment that no one could predict, because we're coming out of COVID, and then the rates were jacked up very quickly. Cash and all this stuff was funded into the world, and it just changed the landscape for bonds. And so it's a simple way of just saying bond-like return without the risk of the bond market. Now, I think there's always things you got to understand about any investment. We do stocks, we do bonds, we utilize annuities, we use alternatives and private investments. There is no perfect investment. You can have a really, really good put together plan, though, that kind of mitigates a lot of the risk of any individual investment. But you did say something that I think is worth talking a little bit about, which is interest rates, right? And I think everyone listening today knows that rates are still high. Rates are starting to come down a little bit. The Fed just cut rates, and they're going to continue to cut. And so what a lot of people did is said, hey, I can go get a 5% money market, and I'm happy with that. And or go get a 5% CD. You haven't been able to do that in 15 years or whatever. So has that benefit been seen in the annuity space as well?
Yeah, definitely. So I think a couple of things here, right? When we look at like the benefit of annuities, and we'll hit on the interest rates in a second, is like, yeah, we can go get a CD or a money market, but do they provide tax deferral, right? So there's some differences with the product. Again, finding the right tool for your clients and your planning processes, which is what you guys are really, really good at, is important. But also the fact that everything is a little more competitive, but the reason is that interest rates are high, and the way insurance companies work is they take your money and they invest it into short-term treasuries, long-term corporates. Obviously, I'm kind of dumbing this down a little bit. There's some additional things in there, but when interest rates are high, we're finding better short-term treasuries, long-terms, and corporate spreads and all that. So because of that, the products are more competitive now than they've ever been. So we are seeing products offering higher returns, higher guaranteed income because of where the interest rate environment's at right now.
So just so people kind of maybe have a little bit of understanding of the annuity landscape. So sometimes people will say, well, which insurance company do you work with? And they'll ask that to me. And I say, look, we don't have a relationship with just one insurance company. We are working across the board with them. How do you keep up with all that? And we say, well, we actually have a back office team that we get to reach out to that's going to help us. And I said, it really comes down to us kind of going out. And the way I say it is, we're going to go shopping, and we're going to go shop and say, where's the best rates at? What's the best place for and again, based on the goal, is it income or is it accumulation? So could you talk a little bit about like what that really looks like with your team? Because we're calling you and your team, and we're getting an answer. But kind of tell me how many insurance companies are you having to look at, and what is that? Why does it change? Like, why is it that one might be good this month, and in 6 months it's not that company anymore?
Yeah, good question. There's a lot in there that we'll try to unpack a little bit, but I think maybe the first thing is that we work with over 15 or 16 different insurance companies. Right. We also have a product development company, so we've developed some products within the industry as well. Because of that, we've got a vast knowledge of all the different carriers. So we're evaluating, who's the best in safety and growth and income at all times, which does allow you guys to not have to focus on every single insurance company, because as you know, the insurance companies are calling you guys saying, hey, we've got the best product. So we work with a ton. We've got a case design team. We've got product specialists. Everybody's identifying where's the best fit. But I think what's most important about all that is that you guys are working with those guys in and day out to understand what's the best fit for the client, right? So we understand the products. You guys understand the client needs, and then we collaborate to figure out what's the best fit. But I think another way to think about this or look at it, y'all are in North Carolina, right? Big golf state. There's a lot of great golf. Pinehurst is just down the street. There's a bunch of different golf ball manufacturers out there. I know you both love to play golf, but you probably hit a different ball than he hits a different ball. Mm-hmm. And that's because you guys have different swings, different needs. I want a ball to go further. I want it to spin more. If you went and talked to the Titleist rep, what ball do you think he's going to tell you to play?
Yeah, Titleist.
Titleist. If you went and talked to the Callaway rep, what's he going to play?
Yeah.
Right? So you guys are independent advisors, just like the pros out there have independent consultants to tell them what ball fits their game best. That's what you guys are doing. So there's a ton of insurance products out there. There's a ton of annuities. Candidly, they're all pretty good. It's just what's the best fit for your plan. That's why people need to come and sit down with you guys, is because you're going to find out what their needs and wants are, and then work with our team who are experts in golf balls, aka annuities, and figure out which one's the best for your plan. So ton of options out there. We do a lot of research to figure out who's really good at what and help you pare that down. Ultimately, you guys are the experts that find out what's the best fit for their plan.
Yeah, I'm still looking for a ball, by the way, that doesn't go in the trees and doesn't go down in the water.
I do. I like that analogy a lot. I mean, what we have said so many times is take that analogy one step further, and you say, let me go talk to Ken Fisher, right, who's a very heavily marketing organization, and they have wording and verbiage out there that says never buy an annuity. Well, what's his whole business structure? It's the stock market. Why would he want to move any money out of the stock market? Go talk to someone that only does insurance, right? And what do they want you to go get? They want you to go get an insurance product because they don't know the stock market, or they're not licensed for it. And so to us, as an independent, we're able to say, well, we've got a bunch of tools in the tool belt, whether it's a stock market, whether it's an annuity, whether it's even money markets or alternatives or long-term care products, right? We've got a bunch of tools in the tool belt. And so let's just go solve for what you need, right? And so for some clients, they don't have an annuity. For others, they have a lot because they hate the stock market. It makes us be in this place where we can be very flexible. But at the end of the day, that's why we started this podcast, is you got to lead with education, and you can't just force something on someone. You have to show them and demonstrate how it's actually going to accomplish their goal. So I just wanted to add that little piece in. You got anything else, Radon?
No, I just going to say, we always say this. If you're listening to this and you go, man, I got some questions. How does this work? We always encourage people to reach out. You can go to our website, which is pomwealth.net. Go to the Contact Us page, and just let us know, hey, I got questions. I didn't know this about this, or I need to understand it a little bit better. Feel free to reach out to us. But I do want to say thank you very much, Sam, for coming on and chatting with us.
Always enjoy chatting with you guys.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Secure Your Retirement. If you would like to learn more, we have actually created an online course called 3 Keys to Secure Your Retirement. This video course helps you to think through all the different steps as you get ready to plan for and live throughout retirement. You can access this by going to our website, pomwealth.net. In addition, you can also subscribe below to our podcast called Secure Your Retirement.
For more retirement tips, check out these videos. Also, if you find them valuable, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and give us a like.